We've been talking all week about the importance of the Supreme Court and how it's going to be a campaign issue. Joining us to follow up on that conversation is Senior Advisor of the Trump 2020 campaign, Katrina Pearson. Katrina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
You bet. The past 2 weeks have been pretty enlightening when it comes to the importance of the court. We're not batting too well right now as conservatives, and I think Trump's one of his greatest legacies is going to be his appointments of judges, not just at the Supreme Court level, but throughout the federal judiciary. What are you as a campaign going to do to make people understand the importance of this court? Because I think at best we have 2, maybe 1 picks on the court next presidential term.
Yeah, I think this is very indicative of the fight that we had in 2016 and the naming of the justices that President Trump would choose as president. And I think the record goes to show how extremely important that this is going to be moving forward and what our country could actually look like if President Trump is not reelected. He has been, as you mentioned, very aggressive in appointing federal judges. I think we're up to 200 now. I think that will be very helpful. When we look at some of the things that are, surfacing, even socially, we know now more than ever that these Supreme Court justice picks are absolutely crucial, really, to the next, 50 to 60, maybe even 100 years moving forward. And so I think now that we've had some of these, interesting rulings come across, I think more people are actually going to be engaged. The president has already stated he will probably release another list of judges so that people can see exactly the type of judges that he would appoint to the courts. And I think that this is definitely going to be an issue that many people going into 2020 are going to be paying attention to, as we see, particularly in some of the blue districts who are really violating some of the basic rights under this guise that it's a COVID cover. And a lot of people are really taking a second look at what these rules and regulations should and shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think one of the most obvious choices or opportunities if a retirement occurs is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's 87 years old, I think.
Right.
82, 87, whatever. And the point is if she goes and we have a President Trump that nominates another justice in the model of Gorsuch or Kavanaugh, that actually finally cements a real conservative court. And I think people need to understand it. If Biden's in, it's just a wash. But this is truly an opportunity to not have a kind of Republican conservative court as we do now with Roberts, but a real Republican conservative court. So right. I think that needs to come real high up on the list. Let me switch gears for a second and talk about Joe Biden. I know there's a lot of talk about how to brand him. The president's big into branding Crooked Hillary, Little Marcos, Sleepy Chuck. But right now, there's a lot of concern about whether or not Joe Biden has what it takes. And yesterday, he was asked at his so-called press conference about his cognitive abilities. Listen to the reporter engage with him on that.
I'm 65. I don't have word recollection that I used to have. I forget my train of thought from time to time. You got 12 years on me, sir. Have you been tested for some degree of cognitive decline?
I've been tested and I'm constantly tested. Look, all I got to do is watch me, and I can hardly wait to compare my cognitive capability to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against.
Katrina, there's a lot of concern, not just Republicans, but I mean Democrats. There's a poll that just came out that shows 38% of overall voters believe that Joe Biden has some form of dementia. I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to make this a medical segment, but I am saying that people are concerned. I mean, he made a big gaffe last week. I know this is no shock to you when he talked about the number of people who have coronavirus. Take a quick listen.
People don't have a job. People don't have anywhere to go. They don't know what they're going to do. And a lot of people you have unnecessarily. Now we have over 120 million dead from COVID.
First, Katrina, are you grieving for the 120 million that have been died because of COVID? I have not gotten over all 120. I'm not trying to make light of the people who have died.
I understand.
But it is, I mean, what are you guys doing to take advantage of this? Because this should concern people that the alternative is President Trump, who's getting his agenda taken, done. And you've got Joe Biden that really is flailing on basic issues of common sense.
Well, yeah, and I think, Sean, that it's even worse than that because, it also goes to show why they would like to keep Joe Biden in the basement, because he can't have one interview, one press conference without saying something that just simply doesn't make sense to your point of the 120 million. But, it's even worse than that. This doesn't have to be a medical segment to pay attention. Many of us who have older family members or have dealt with this in the medical community can see the signs. And this is why the polling shows that many Americans are concerned about his cognitive function. And he should probably release those results to calm the mind of the American people. And when it comes to President Trump, he's always been strong. He's always been vigorous. There is no one that can say that Donald Trump isn't aware of his surroundings. And I'll also say that when you look at Joe Biden, just speak on the smallest things, he can't get any of it right. Half the time, he doesn't even know what state he's in, which is pretty important if you're going to be running for president.
Well, Katrina, one thing I actually think is interesting is Joe Biden called into question the cognitive ability of Trump yesterday, referring to him being briefed or not on Russian bounty for U.S. troops. But I think the interesting thing is he's trying to flip the tables and make it about Trump instead of him. Does that concern you at all?
It doesn't concern me at all. I mean, many of those stories have been debunked already. This also goes to show you that the Democrats just simply don't have a message for America. They keep wanting to revert back to debunked theories and hoaxes and everything else that they've been trying to push for the last 3 years, and it's simply not going to work. People want to know what Joe Biden has to offer this country that is going to be different from Trump. Most of the policies that he's pushed out already are just copy and paste of the president's current accomplishments. And the reality is, Joe Biden knows that President Trump has reversed many of the damaging policies that Joe Biden himself and his Democrat colleagues have put in place, particularly in minority communities. And that is a record he doesn't want to run on. That's why they continue to try these false narratives, and the media is not going to push back on him, and that's why he gets away with it.
I mean, the upside, Katrina, is he probably forgot that he made that attack. So
he probably did. He probably did.
There's an upside, if you will. Who knows? We'll move on to something else, but he'll probably forget. So anyway, thank you for joining us. Obviously, we've got a long way to go, but as we head towards the convention and into the election, I would love to have you back and get some updates as to where you guys are.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you.
All right, well, here's a question that has probably come up at the dinner table, maybe yours. Should the president set an example by wearing a mask? Our company's going to weigh in next. Plus, our series on battleground states continues. Can the GOP turn traditionally blue Minnesota red? We'll discuss.